I'm Stephanie Edwards. I'm a romantic suspense author, and I'm starting this new book blog with my friend Courtney. It's going to be called the Bless Your Book blog. So we'll get started here now. I'm the author of the Isle of Palm suspense series, and I'll let Courtney introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Courtney Turner Hoyle, and I write basically everything. I'm a multi-genre writer, and I have fantasies, I have mysteries, I have thrillers, I have paranormal suspense, Southern fiction, almost everything. But I'm primarily focused right now on some Southern fiction, writing a Southern fiction mystery, and I'm really excited about it. I've published books such as Finding Emma and Solomon's Tears, My Brother's Keeper, and they are award winners officially. I'm really proud of those. And I'll turn it back over to you, Miss Stephanie.
Oh, wow. You just done so many great things with your books, and I know your family must be so incredibly proud of you. You're a great mom and um, just a great friend to your bookish community on Facebook and Instagram. I love reading your posts. They're always entertaining.
Well,
Um,
you are too. And I think that you have a fantastic idea with this books blog, and that you run a wonderful group with the Southern Sisters. And I wonder if there's anything about your family and your family dynamic that kind of plays into your books.
Oh, definitely. I grew up in the South Tennessee specifically, and I've always loved traveling to the Carolinas. It's really important to me to go visit the coast, being in a landlocked state. But with the family dynamics, I've been really close to my granny my whole life. She passed away a couple of years ago. So really, she has inspired a lot of these family matriarchs who are in my books, and they play a very important role to my characters too. And I think that really is reflective of my own life in many ways.
I'm sorry that you lost your grandmother. And what do you think caused you to start writing? What sparked it?
So from very first time that I wrote professionally was when I was in middle school. My English teacher asked me if I would like to have my school's correspondence for our local newspaper. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. I just knew that previous friends who had the role had a little column in our school newspaper, but I didn't really know what I would be doing. And what I found out as I started doing this is I got to interview people and get to know them and share their stories. And that was just so meaningful for me. As far as becoming an author, 2 years ago, I took a really important trip to Charleston, South Carolina. I didn't know how important it would be at the time, but we stayed at this really cute beach cottage on Isle of Palms, and it had this very spooky backyard with trees just dripping with Spanish moss, really old oak trees, and they cast this really eerie shadow on the houses in the neighborhood. And it was so spooky. I told my husband, oh my goodness, I have to write about this place. I don't know how or who the characters will be, but this setting, it speaks to me in so many ways.
Yes, it certainly sounds like it. Um, you had told me before about your where you stand in your line of siblings. Would you like to share that with the readers?
Sure. Yeah. I'm the oldest of three. And so it was really important to me for the haunting on Palm Court to share the perspective of the oldest Nelson sister, Blake. And this follows her story with her ex-fiance, who is not too nice of a guy. But it also brings in a lot of really supportive characters in her sisters. Her sisters who are featured more heavily in the other two books in the series. But they're very supportive. Of course, her grandmother is supportive, like I was saying. My grandmother was just such a key person in my life and very inspiring to me in so many ways, very supportive. So I really think the family dynamics that I experienced growing up helped me build this really strong story.
And within that sisterhood, you have Brittany Nelson, and she's hearing impaired.
Yes,
And is there an inspiration for her character in particular?
there is. My mom grew up with a deaf brother and sister, and so I learned sign language from a very young age so that I could communicate with them, as well as one of my friends who I played with. Pretty much we were inseparable from the time we were born until we were 25 years old. Um, so yeah, it's always been really important to me to share the story of hearing impaired people and to show that they can do anything that a hearing person can.
That's very inspirational. Do you have a common sign language phrase that you found that you've used more often than others that you can show us?
So writing is very important to me.
Oh, wow,
um,
writing.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I might have to use that one.
Oh, for
I,
sure.
I taught I taught my children sign language early on before they could speak so that I would know when they were all done and things like that when they wanted milk. And so I really value that you know sign language. I think it's lovely. And in your omnibus edition, which I thoroughly enjoyed, you have put things about the Nelson sisters and their relationships with their bows. And it's beautiful. It's almost like certain parts are like a Pinterest board, and then you've got recipes. And I was curious as to whether those are family recipes or those recipes that you've found from friends or that you have accumulated on your own over time.
So I'll tell you the truth, Courtney. I'm not much of a recipe person, so I do a lot of what's called experimental cooking and baking. With baking, it's an exact science, so it doesn't always work out for me, but I take inspiration from family recipes as well as things I've seen online, or maybe even a restaurant food that I've enjoyed, and I'm like, wonder if I could make that. And then I just experiment and see if I can put it together. But all of the recipes in the omnibus edition are very much Southern comfort food and things that I enjoyed making, a variation of them, maybe not the exact dish with my family. My granny and my mom both loved to cook when I was younger, and I enjoyed spending time with them in the kitchen.
Oh, and I think that's beautiful. But out of the books that you've written, which one is your favorite? And I won't tell the other ones.
Yeah, let's not pick a favorite child. um, no, out of all seriousness, Christmas on Palm Court is probably my favorite because it shares the story of Julia Caroline and her husband James and how they came to be together and the struggles that they faced when they were first getting together. So it's just really cool too because it has this time back and forth to where it's the 60s and then all of a sudden you're in the modern time with Elena, who is Julia Caroline's granddaughter. She is the middle child. And another funny thing about placement in your family as far as age range and everything, Elena is the middle child, and her book came last in the series. And that was just sort of me saying the middle child is always forgotten. And, you know, I'm not the middle child, but I thought it was funny to do that.
Oh, it is rather cute that you put it that way. I'm an only child, so it didn't bother me. But I think that your books were wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed the omnibus edition. All my reviews are on Amazon, Goodreads, and BookBub. Reviews are very important to all the readers out there. We love whenever you post reviews of our work. It's validation for authors because it's nice to hear our parents or in your case your siblings and my children even say, oh wow, your books are great. But when someone just all of a sudden gives you a review and they're from Texas and you're from Tennessee and you're like, oh wow, they really liked it, that's so great. It's reason enough to dance around in the kitchen, and my children join in with me, and maybe your dog Shadow joins in with you whenever you get a good review.
Oh,
Is there
definitely.
anything is there anything you would like to ask me?
Oh, yes. I am a huge fan of yours too. You just really have this great connection with your community on social media. I think I mentioned that earlier. So impressive how you connect with everyone, regardless of their background, who they are, their age. You're just such a good friend to everyone. So thank you for being that way to everyone in our bookish community. It's just so refreshing to get to spend time with people like you. So
Thank you. Thank you
you're
for
welcome.
saying that. Very kind.
Oh, um, but you're also a mom, and I wonder, like, how do you have time to write all these wonderful books and connect with all the great people who we meet through our bookish community?
Well, usually what I do is my children are nice enough to go to sleep when I go to sleep. And then when I wake up, they're still sleeping. And even if I'm still a little tired, I will write. I'll wake up and I'll make sure that I write, because if an idea is itching in my brain, I have to get it out and I'm not satisfied until I do. And of course, I can't do that while my 2-year-old is trying to climb on a counter, or my teenager wants me, to do something with her, pick her up from soccer practice or whatever. So I have to make sure that I make that time. So I sacrifice sleep.
Well, it's very impressive. Kudos to you for everything you do, from being a great author to being a super mom. So it's very impressive and doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you didn't write, what profession would you seek out? And have you ever written about that profession?
Okay, so um, I do have a Master of Arts in teaching, and I did kind of substitute or do some interim teaching, and I really enjoyed it. And I am a travel agent right now, so I do that also. So I have written about those things. I have written about teaching. I have a book coming out called Hollis's Hobby, and the people there are teachers. I've written about nurses. I've never done nursing. I couldn't take anyone's blood. That's the no for me. But but I do have some nurses in my family, and I value that profession. So yes, there are several times that I've looked at a profession and I've thought, I love it and I want to include it. And those are the times that I have.
That's amazing. I love all that. Wow. Add all those things to your resume, plus mom. Just amazing job, Courtney.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, I've read your novel, Finding Emma, and I've checked out reviews of some of your other books. I have to hand it to you. You are the queen of keeping the mystery under wraps until you're ready, until you are ready for the reader to know what is really happening. How do you do this?
Well, sometimes I don't even know, so that's good. Sometimes I surprise myself. I let my characters lead me. And there, especially with My Brother's Keeper and Finding Emma, with My Brother's Keeper, I had no idea. I sat down and I had one line, and I started with that one line, and I went forth with it. I typed it and the entire story came out. And with Finding Emma, I thought I had the ending, and then something else happened later on. So it's just and with the book that I'm writing now, I did know what was going to happen. So it's kind of like sometimes I have an outline in my head and I know what I'm going to do. And then sometimes it's purely character driven, and it just happens. It happens because they tell me what they want to do and then I have to listen.
Understand. I'm completely a pantser. Would you classify yourself as a pantser as well?
For the most part, yes. I'm learning now that I need to have somewhat of a plan, because if I don't, then I tend to get bogged down in the story and I don't want to write unnecessary parts. There was a place in Stephen King's On Writing where he said you have to kill your darlings. Well, I don't want to kill my darlings. I want all my darlings to live and be happy. So, and have their happily ever after.
Mhm.
So I decided that I would at least have somewhat of an outline in my head so there would be fewer chances of that. I had an instance in Solomon's Tears where I have a deleted chapter, and because it had nothing to do with progressing the story, even though I thought it was necessary, even though I thought it was a good place for it. When I read back over it, I thought readers are not going to need this. So I did include it at the end of the book, but I didn't put it in the book. That way the reader has a choice. If they want to read that chapter, it's there for them. And if not, then the story moves right along.
I'm sure they love having the option to go and read it and just see what was important enough to you to still include it in some way, even though it's not weaved, woven into your story. Um, I'm sure the reader is really glad to be able to read that.
Mhm.
Um, what would be your dream location for a setting for your book? And would you like to go there in person to research it?
Oh, I'm going to give the silliest answer in the world for this, but it's Disney World. I would love to go to Disney World and go to the Polynesian. The Polynesian is where John Lennon signed papers that officially ended the Beatles.
Oh,
And I would love to be there and perhaps write, and this, of course, would be a nonfiction piece. And I would love to be there and write about that experience, of course, with the view of the castle to which I would go to after having written it.
oh, how fun. I love that. Would you take your kids with you?
Oh, I absolutely would. I can't go to Disney World without my children. They would be really angry with me.
Understood. um, so what's coming up next for your writing, and do you have any books that you're getting ready to publish?
Oh, I'm getting ready to publish the sequel to Finding Emma. So readers will be ready for that. The third edition, or the third book in that series, will be out next year. And so that'll complete that series, is what I'm thinking, unless my characters tell me otherwise. And then I've got my third book in the Pellwoods Mystery Series, and it's coming up at the beginning of next year. And I have a Southern fiction mystery, an Appalachian mystery that I'm writing right now. However, it's not going to be published until probably sometime March or after of next year. But I'm
Sound
very excited. I'm very excited about everything I have. Plus, I have Hollis's Hobby, and it's coming out the 27th of October. And the 27th is my eldest son's birthday,
oh,
and it's my thriller. So he put his stamp of approval on that one. It's about a female serial killer, and he's excited that one's basically his book.
aw, that's so meaningful for him to get to have that experience with you. I love that. So what is the oddest place that you found inspiration?
Oh, we find it everywhere, don't we? We, I guess, maybe when I've been banished for when I was breastfeeding, like, when they make you go into another room.
Oh,
So I'll be by myself and I'll be with the baby and he'll kind of be nodding out. So because he's milk drunk. And so
mhm.
I, I'm there alone with my thoughts. So during those times, in the shower, because don't all good ideas come to you in the shower. And
Okay.
then when I'm driving, I have a lot of ideas when I'm driving. So usually when I'm not distracted is when I come up with an idea. I'll think of something. And sometimes my process is I will think of an idea because I have been debating what would happen if this happened to me. And then I think, oh, okay, well, I can put that in a book.
Mhm. Yes, we all have overactive imaginations, and I think the what if really sums that up so well. I love
Yes.
that. So do you want to talk about being Southern a little? I thought it could be fun to talk about how we came up with the name for this blog, Bless Your Books blog. Of course, bless your heart can mean a lot of different things. So, is there a time that someone said bless your heart to you and you took it to mean that they were trying to insult you?
Ah, not me. No, but I have been around some really, really wonderful church ladies, and that's how they got their point across. Is they would they would say, "Well, bless your heart, honey," and I would be standing there, and I would know that that person what that meant to them, even if they didn't understand it. So, like you said, there are various ways. It just depends on how you say it, what context.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people do use it to mean very supportive things. Like if there's a death in your family, for example, oh, bless your heart. And they're being very genuine and they do mean to support you. So not everyone's trying to be ugly or sassy by using that phrase, but I just think it's funny. Um, it's probably one of the most well-known Southern phrases, so I thought it would be fun just to talk about that for a minute.
Yes, yes, I think that's probably something that we're very well known for, our is for our dialect and our phrases, the way that we enunciate things and the way that we put things. But I
Yeah.
think that's one of the best things about being Southern is that I used to work in a job where the the clientele would come from everywhere. They would come from
Mhm.
England, might be from the local area, but they also might be from Canada. And Canadians love Southern accents. And I think Canadians are wonderful because they've always been super kind to me. But I think having a bit of a drawl, it has kind of held me back in some ways because there will be people who comment on it, and
Yes,
so then it makes you self-conscious.
it does.
But then there will be people who give you the most wonderful compliments, and
Yeah,
those are the people I truly treasure because they really help me feel better about myself, and just being positive, it goes a long way. No matter what small thing you say, it adds up to a lot.
I totally agree. Well, Courtney, thank you so much for all of your time and for partnering with me on this fabulous journey. We're going to have fun. We're going to bless a lot of books, and we mean that in a genuine way. We're
Yes.
looking forward to interviewing a lot of authors, both debut authors and those who've been around and they have their roots already. So we welcome everyone, regardless if you're from the North, the South, Europe, we don't care. We embrace everyone and welcome everyone to enjoy us
Absolutely.
and just have fun.